My name is Campbell and I'm the world's laziest watercolorist. So while I've been enjoying sharing all my watercolor cheats and tricks and tips, I'm starting a new chapter today with a brand new series kicking off how to mix. I know my students right now at Awesome Art School, they're like, what is happening? What is happening to my reality? I know. I'm going to be learning how to mix skin tones in watercolor with the help of Polina Bright. She is one of the most talented watercolorists that I know. I have been stalking her and admiring her for years, and I purchased her ebook, which is how to mix watercolor skin tones. And I'm going to bring to you my experiences and my lessons as I go ahead and paint and mix my very own watercolor skin tones, doing light, medium, and dark. So this will be a 3-part series. If you want to subscribe so you don't miss any of the episodes in here. Not only do I have a coupon from Polina's book, but I also am giving out these traceables. If you want to transfer the faces onto cold press watercolor paper, you can actually follow right along with me. I'll be sharing all of the colors that Polina Bright uses and recommends. It's actually not this many. I added a few more colors. I bought some extra ones at Jerry's when I was getting Polina's recommended colors. Guilty. I know, we're all art supply hoarders, are we not? I know I'm in good company. So if you want information on how to grab like the list, the discount for the book, I will put in the description box for you, so you don't have to do anything special in order to get your hands on that. But if you want the like full supply list and the traceables for 1, 2, and 3, you can join my Neat Suite. I have a coupon. You can join it for $6, and it actually gives you access to all of my YouTube videos, sorted references that I've used in other recordings as well, plus 39 cheat sheets. 39, some of which are over 30 pages long. So it's crazy. I just transferred this pencil drawing onto cold press watercolor papers. Although I do take it a step further, in my Neat Suite, I'm also giving you, where is it? The original PDF reference that I'm using, that I used to trace. So you'll get this, plus you'll get this recording from today, and then you'll get clickable links to all the art supplies, and then a link to Polina's book. Let's go. Very excited to dive in. I have put Polina's ebook into this binder with sheet protectors so that I could have it in my art studio, not worry about any of the pages getting wet. Honestly, you could even use this as a palette. It would be perfect as that. And there she is, hardworking mom of 4, I have to say. Amazing artist. And she makes brushes, by the way. I didn't even talk about that, but I use all of her brushes. I use them all the time. She sells rounds and mops, and I actually have a coupon for those too. So she lists in the book the exact colors, and I think one of the reasons that I could be a little bit successful as a super late bloomer, I didn't get my start into art until I was well into my 30s, already had my 3 kids, was that I'm actually a very good student. So when I'm taking a class from someone or reading a book, I take really good notes and I really follow along. And I feel like in this day and age, a lot of people have stopped reading. People don't read emails anymore. They just skim, they just kind of want instant gratification and think that if they can get away with barely looking closely at things. I do not subscribe to that. I am like a super nerd, and I do think it has been one of the reasons that I've been able to catch up because I was a late bloomer. So if you really do want to rocket your skills, I highly recommend taking lessons, getting good teachers, but also paying really close attention and truly read through the materials and try to follow along. So I've always been a nerd, and I'm not sorry about it. So what I did is I went and I literally went to Jerry's Adorama in person, and I bought as many colors as I could of her colors, and then whatever I couldn't grab there, I went on Amazon and I purchased from there. So what I'm going to do, and again, this is more colors. I put in red the colors that she uses. So what I'm going to do is, because these samples, these swatches are amongst other colors that are not ones that she's including, I'm going to swatch them, even though I have them swatched there separately on this swatch folder. What is this called? Book. This is called Painter's Color Diary. And I will have links to all the supplies in my Neat Suite, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to start off by swatching these again on this sheet. I think it's really important that we isolate each color separately so we can know exactly what they look like. So I made my custom palette, and I'm gonna do, okay, so yellow orange is first. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put my brush into yellow orange. I'm gonna do, there's no really directions on how to use this per se. I'm just gonna do a really concentrated amount here on the far left of this little well. And then we can take a little water and move it so you can see how it goes from dark to light. And then I'm going to label it below. So I always label everything in pencil because I make a ton of mistakes all the time, and I do need to often erase and make corrections. So we're gonna put Polina Bright. So if you wanna swatch along with me, that would be super. I super highly recommend it. So this is yellow orange. Yellow orange is number 1. And then that way, when we go to do the actual faces, we'll have everything all ready to go. So the second one is yellow ochre. Okay, so I'm gonna put that there again, a more concentrated amount. The left-hand side, and then I'm gonna use water. It's a great watercolor practice in order to practice your blending. So don't skip these really important steps. This is also a really great way to get to know your supplies. I can't emphasize enough, actually, this kind of importance of this getting to know you period. Third color is cadmium-free scarlet, and I will call the colors off too. And then maybe that will help you figure out if some of these you might actually already have in your stash. So this is just using water to blend it out. Great blendy practice. Yes, this is cadmium-free scarlet. Yeah, so it's really helpful to sit and do this exercise. So this is cadmium-free deep red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure I get the right one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lots of reds. My friend Lucy has a really cool practice. I never do it, I always forget, but it's really cool, where she actually watercolors with 2 brushes. So the first brush has the pigment on it, and then she follows it with just a brush filled with water. This is red deep. And then that's how she blends. It speeds up your process. Not that anybody here is in a rush, but I always thought that was so clever. Deep red. Make sure I have the right one, because there's red deep and then there's deep red. It gets really confusing. So the 5th color, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is Windsor Red Deep. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't I just do that one? Oh, I did. Now I'm on this one. So there's red deep and red deep. 1, 2. Oh, I'm so confused. All right, I told you I get confused and I do things in pencil because this one I had backwards. It's red deep. I had deep red. Okay, so that is this luscious, beautiful. I think this is my favorite color. It's like blood red. Look at how strong that is compared to the other ones. And then again, using just water to get the lighter look of this. So gorgeous. This is red deep. Oh, okay, and then after that we're going to brilliant purple, which is actually just like a wonderful, cheery, happy pink. It's just like a hot pink. Oops, I just dunked tons of water into this, which I did not want to do. Remove some of the water and then go back to get a much more pigmented pile here. Okay, and of course you can skip this part of the video if you want to and go right to the lesson as we mix But this is such a crucial step for me personally. This kind of getting to know you period. It helps me slow down. It helps me really pay attention. What am I looking at? What are these colors that I'm gonna be about working with? I think it's actually a super, super important phase. Quinacridone Rose is the last one on this side. And it's so pretty. So pretty. Just a gorgeous all around pink. Great to have for cheeks. And then taking my water to blend that out. That is Quin Rose. Okay, now we're gonna go down the left-hand side. Again, so this is Phthalo Sapphire Blue, which I had never even heard of before, which on my palette is fourth to the end. All right, so love some phthalo blue, but yeah, this sapphire, the sapphire part of it, that was new to me. So here we go, just dragging this across to get our beautiful blend, and then making a note so we can be really good to go when we start mixing in just a second. I also love how step-by-step her book is. As a fellow book author, I make books for a living. It's super important that people can break things down easily and understandably, and I think she does a really kick-ass job in that department. So this is Antwerp Blue, which I had never even heard of, because, which is actually shocking, since I'm someone who doesn't even ever mix anything. I thought I had seen and heard of all of these colors, but I tend to hoard Daniel Smith, and I don't think he has an Antwerp Blue, which is why I missed it. All right, this next color is Red Umber. This is another color I actually hadn't heard of. So this is educational in so many ways. Even though I know tons about watercoloring, there's so much I don't. Hopefully you'll join me in becoming a lifelong student. Never stop learning, expanding. Next one is the Warm Sepia Extra. This is almost like a burnt umber, which I also had never heard of this color. Taking my water and dragging it over. So Warm Sepia Extra. And now when I go through the book, I have all of the colors swatched out in front of me, not confused with my other things. Sepia is next, just straight up. Sepia, it's a very common color. It's almost like a blackish brown. And adding water to smoosh it out. Neutral Tint is a beautiful color. Also a color I had never owned or had ever thought to own before grabbing this book. It's really pretty. It reminds me of a Payne's Gray. It's quite a blue gray. It's so gorgeous. And yes, that is Neutral Tint. I also like that this book has 2 lines in it. I have really big, messy writing. So I like that I have 2 lines that I can swatch in. And this last one is Payne's Gray. I was even such a nerd, even though I have Payne's Gray in like different... I wanted to experience exactly the colors and brands that she used. So I actually did hunt down all these colors in the same brands that she was using, even though I already have them in other brands, which is very stupid. But again, I really want to be a good student, which means following along exactly. So I have all of these swatched now, and I'm going to turn the page, and we can begin number 1, which is painting light warm skin tone, and that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. She recommends using 100% cotton. That's what I'm going to be using today. She recommends keeping your mixtures simple, so don't use more than 2 to 3 colors. She keeps the mixtures transparent, which means a lot of water. She always prepares a range of light, mid, and dark tones ahead of time for every project. I think that's a great idea so that you have the freedom and speed while you're painting. It doesn't slow you down. And then she adds for light skin tones, which is what we're doing today, she uses more water to keep the mix as transparent as possible. She also recommends using a palette with multiple wells, so I'm gonna have that. And because matching a skin tone, it can be super tricky, but it's not impossible. So it's better to have it all mixed up ahead of time. So she has recommendations for mixing light, medium, and dark tones on the next page. And for the undertone and overall skin tone trio of primaries, which are yellow, orange, cad-free red, and Antwerp blue. All right, and then she says, alternatively, you can use any warm yellow, like a cadmium yellow, paired with a cadmium red and ultramarine as your blue as well. So if you don't want to go out and buy all new watercolors, like I did, you can use cadmium yellow, cadmium red, and ultramarine as your trio together. All right, she also recommends keeping lots of water for this skin tone. And for the midtones, she uses the same yellow, orange, and cadmium free red combo, but with less water and more pigment. Makes total sense. So as we get darker, we're using less water and more pigment. Okay, so the next step in this video, and hopefully if you're following along, is to go ahead and we're actually gonna mix up our skin tones and cheek tones, which I think is also super smart because we like to have the cheeks automatically as we're going through these, right? Having the cheek color gives it a way more dimension. So yes, we're gonna do that as well. And here we go. Okay, so now I'm super paying very close attention. I have my palette here so we can do the wells for light, cheek, mid-tone, and dark tone. So we'll have 4 altogether. I also have a piece of scratch paper so that like I can mix it, but this is another tip I picked up from my friend Lucy, which is test it out before you go and put it on your paper. Very excited. So I'm also going to be recording these mixes in my book. I have been doing this for other projects that I've been teaching, so I can mix and make note of them while I go. That way I can tell my students afterwards, this is exactly what I mixed. This is exactly what it looked like for that specific project. All right, I'm following right along. So she says for both the undertone and the overall skin tone, use the yellow, orange, cad-free red, or cad-free red deep, and the Antwerp blue. Okay, so that's where I'm gonna start. Another tip I picked up from Lucy, I always like to give credit where credit is due, is actually starting with a bit of water, especially for the light mixes. So using a pipette, it's way easier to add colors to an existing body of water than it is to go add more paint. So starting off with a little petal is so handy. So I'm using a number 2 Polina Bright brush, and I'm gonna get it wet in the water. And I'm going to grab some yellow orange, make sure I have the right color here. All right, so I'm gonna add, I'm just gonna show you my palette as well. So I have the yellow orange, okay, and then I'm gonna pop it in my water. It's a big face actually, so I'm gonna err on the side of more. See, now I'm adding water and it's still a pain in the butt. All right, next we're gonna add the cadmium free red deep, which is my 4th color, I believe. No, it's my 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's this one. All right. So I'm doing like 50% red, 50% yellow. Okay, and then she says, so start by mixing yellow and red, which we just did. Yellow, orange, and red, yes, to create a light peach tone. All right, I was gonna just take a peek and see what that looks like. Oh, it is very peachy, but it's very peachy. And then she says, slowly add amounts of Antwerp blue until you achieve a soft, warm beige. Oh, I cannot wait. So which one is my Antwerp blue? So I'm just gonna go just do a little touch. And then, I don't know, I'm doing 2 touches. I'm literally guessing. And then I'm gonna swatch that. Oh, that's lovely. I love that. Okay, so now that I have that kind of mix, I'm gonna add it to my little swatch book so I don't forget. And I know what it looks like for next time. So taking good notes is part of being a good student. All right, so I'm gonna write that down. So this was, I actually started with water. So, oh my God, there is so much crap on my desk. It's unbelievable. Okay, so I'm gonna start by writing, this is what's water came first. I'm gonna star that because I used a ton. And then I would say I used probably almost a third. What's greater than? Okay, this is not helpful. Yeah, I just did like half of, we did the yellow orange, and then a half, I probably did a little bit less, maybe like a third of the CAD free red deep, and then I did like a tiny, and then I did 2 brushes full of, so like a tiny bit of the Antwerp. All right, I need to really get better. My note taking is terrible. So I love that. Okay, so that's gonna be in this well, so I'm just gonna leave that alone. And then we need to do, oh, we're gonna mix up our cheeks color. That's what's on this page of her book. So she says, another tip I always recommend is mix a separate tone just for the cheeks. For this skin tone, I like warm pinky flush. To create it, I mix cadmium-free red and then the brilliant purple. Oh, that's exciting. Brilliant purple. Oh, it's so pretty. And then we're gonna mix that with cadmium-free red deep. That is just the prettiest. And I'm just gonna test that on my scratch paper because I don't know if it's gonna be crazy next to my flesh. No, that's not crazy, that's beautiful. And I have to skip, my notes are so big and stupid that I can't even use the one next to it. So this will be the flush, the cheek color. So this was like water and half, what is that called? Brilliant purple. And half of the regular CAD free red D. I'm gonna start writing that CFRD because that's way too many words to be writing on this. That is such a pretty color. Loving that. Okay, now we're gonna mix up the medium and the dark as well. So the medium one, she just prepares a more saturated version. That's super doable. We can do that. So that just means less, like way less water. So remember I had tons in here? I'm gonna go this way. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of water this time. And it's the same colors as before. This is not hard, we can do this. So we did the yellow, orange. Woo, which by itself looks crazy. And then we're gonna do the CAD-free red deep again. Oh shit, I just put that in the wrong one. Whoops. So I'm gonna go add more brilliant purple to my cheeks to get that balance back in. Yikes. All right, where was I? This, that, and then this time more blue. Where's my Antwerp blue? Boom, over here, grabbing my blue, which has a giant hair in it, lovely. Okay, that looks really scary and dark. So I'm gonna test this. If it's way too dark, I'm gonna add a lot more water because if we go too much too soon, that's too crazy. Yeah, that looks a little bit too intense for me. I don't love that so much. I'm gonna also add in a little bit more red. This also looks really almost more like black than anything else. Okay, that's better. I don't think I had a good half and half mix on that one. You're gonna add in a little bit more yellow so it's more even. Okay, that seems way less scary now. I was like, what is this color? Oh. Okay, so this is like a third and third. For the mid-tone. write it down so we don't forget. And then we're gonna go even darker. Now, I could have also just add more water to get one like between this one and this one. I would just add more water, but I actually love me some like drama. So I'm not scared of that super dark color. I'm like a little bit scared, but not really. So this third one, the dark one, I'm not gonna add any water beforehand except for what little bit I can get off of my brush. And then Antwerp blue, where are you? We've got a giant dog hair in this the whole time. Let's get that out of there finally. And a lot of this. And then the least amount of water. So this one hopefully should be the darkest. It looks the same as before. I'm gonna add a little bit more blue. That looks way too green. So I'm gonna add more red. When in doubt, test it out. And we also need more. We need more of everything. All right. That is a good, yummy brown. All right, and good yummy brown. If that is too close to my midtone, I'm just gonna add more water to my midtone. See what it looks like when it dries. It is looking very similar. So I'm gonna take my pipette and I'm gonna just add a little bit more water to my midtone to dilute it. So that will force it to go lighter here. Oh yeah, look how much lighter that is. Okay, so that's this with just more water. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. So I will make a note, which is this plus water. And then this one on the end, we just had less water. So I'm writing this down, less water, and then it was a third of that mix, but maybe more of the blue. Cad free red deep, that is gonna be the death of me, that saying. And then this is the Antwerp blue. All right, I think we have a good value scale here. So I could even go 1, 2, 3, but 1, 2, 3, 4, any of those. I feel like I usually tell my students always minimum of 3. So we have 3, preferably I like to do more than that. So this was a recent project I just did, and we did all of these. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I agree. All right, so I think we have a nice arrangement here. So now we can actually start painting, which is very fun. I also am going to be paying close attention to her little side notes, like how much water to use. So this is the beginning of her step-by-step. Step 1 is the sketch, so we have that already. You can grab that from my Neat Suite if you would like it. And then step 2 is the first layer. So the first layer, I know she does wet on dry, which just means like you put your wet paint on a dry paper. And then the second layer is wet on wet. And then we're gonna add the cheeks. And then I believe the second color as well. So we have our first layer mix all ready to go. Her key tips are to keep this layer very transparent. It acts as an undertone for the base for the highlights. And then while the layer is wet, she also puts in her cheeks mix, which we already have mixed up as well. All right, so I'm looking at her step-by-step instructions, but I'm also looking at my reference so I can see the light areas are basically gonna go everywhere. And then the darker areas are around the eyes and here, and then the darkest 3 will go here and here. Now I'm not color matching to this today. I'm color matching Polina's. So this will look a little bit different. I have taught this itself in my Mixed Media Society. This was a lesson by Lucy Bright, who I've mentioned already a few times. These are in the Mixed Media Society. I'll put a link down below for that as well. And Mixed Media Societies, if you're watching this, remember that you get the Neat Suite for all my club members get the Neat Suite for free anyways, but these two will be in the Neat Suite for absolutely everybody. Again, links below. Let's begin. So let's have our lightest color. My brush is wet, my paper is dry, and we are gonna go into our watery mix of our light color. And I'm going to quickly spread this around. It's a huge drawing. I do everything really big. I don't know why that is, but I always do. So on to the right of the eye we go. I'm going over the eyebrows. Gonna sweep this everywhere, really. It's funny, I've already taught this. I'm like, here we are again. Super fun lesson though. Okay, we can even go across. Basically, we're just covering our whole sheet quickly and evenly. Okay, and down we go. And I'm happy I made up such a big mix because I did not want to run out. And if you go too far, like I just did, you can take a paper towel and just lift it up. Okay. You want like this lighter, you can lift up any places that got too much. Feel free to do that too. All right, now I'm going to also extend this line. I stopped it a little short, out a bit. And this is where you would add the cheek color. So this is the cheek area, right? If we're following along our reference, it's right off here. I just did that. And this we can pick up a little bit with our paper towel to maintain the highlights. And while it's wet, she says to carefully paint the cheek areas, focusing on the bottom of the large highlight. And come off the page. I'm literally just did a little dabble, do ya? Okay. And it will spread out because my paper is wet and I'm working on this really pretty cold press paper. Okay. So we're already done with the first layer. Went really fast. Now it says for step 3, shadows and midtones, wash my brush and grab the midtone mix. All right, we're ready to go with that. So she always applies it under the upper part of the eye. So we're going to do that as well. We're going to go around the eyes, under the nose. Yep, we're going to do that. Under the lips. Yes, we're going to also do that. And under the cheekbones. Again, we have a different view, so we're not going to do that. But we could add a little bit under here. All right, it says, since the first layer is still wet, this helps soften the shadow transitions naturally. Okay, so let's put these in while it's still wet. This is my second mix over here on my palette. This is the second one, the one that I made a little bit more dark. And so that one goes in our reference. We're gonna put that here under the eye. I'm going to put it here. We're going to sweep it under the eye like this. Okay, come along the side of our nose. It becomes the nose bridge. And if this line is too severe, use Lucy's trick and just use plain water to blend it out. You can also do this as drawing in like a hard, ugly line. So we can also use a bit of water to blend that out also. Revisit that. I'm getting an ugly bloom right there. Okay, so we're going to bring this down. Get some more pink because it's running out. And it goes under the nose. the chin. It's quite a dark, that will be quite a dark highlight. And even under here too. Oh, and then the far eye. We also have the same areas, which is on the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid. This big pooge out. I'm going to do her eyebrows this color just to give them a little base coverage. Also is less scary when you go to do like the dark color. You've already done a color there. Oh, we've already been here before. That's not so bad. All right. And while her cheek is still a little bit wet, I'm going to add in some more cheek too. That was not looking so good. And kind of mushy this away. Water is the fix-all in watercolors. All right. So we have our little cheek expanding. And get rid of that kind of rough area. Okay, awesome. So that is layer 2. Okay. Now, the next step is to paint the lips. And she uses cadmium-free red plus brilliant purple plus a touch of yellow orange. All right, let's go make that one up. So we have cadmium-free red. Which is this one. This one. Plus brilliant purple. Done. Plus a touch of yellow orange. Boop. Okay. And she says she does a very transparent wash. Mine is not transparent. Mine is full on lip color. I'm just having fun and I want to do it. Shoop. All right, now I should have waited for my everything to dry first, but patience is not my strong suit. So if anything starts running together, which mine is, stop and dry. So that is what I'm going to do right now. I know way better than that. So we should dry first and then paint any colors that are next to each other. And I am going to actually just drop a little bit of her lip color into her cheek as well because it's so pretty. All right, and now I'm going to dry everything with my hair dryer. So you should do the same if you're working in real time with me. All right, so now this is all dried, and this far one is a lot darker than this one, but it's actually fine because the farthest eye on a 3/4 portrait is always darker anyway, so I'm not like upset about that in any way. So I'm using a combination of this reference with the actual colors that we're following with Polina's. So I have the darkest one over here. If you notice on the bottom, I'm putting my brush into the darkest one. And she has doing the inner upper corner of both eyes, the tear duct, outside of the corner lid, under the nose, under the eyebrows, and under the lips. It's the same exact place on whatever face you're doing. Just reading that off to you. So on a 3/4 portrait, This middle part is going to be left a little bit lighter. And then this, we'll just go zoomy in and go slowly but surely. So this will be the darkest. And actually, this tear duct, I think, can actually be that pink. It can honestly be like the peach color even. And this, we're gonna do under here. It's super dark over on this side. So that is correct. It also is much darker right here. And if you do want to blend them, just wet your brush and add a little water, and that will moosh everything lovingly together. If you want to have a lesser abrupt line, water is your answer there. So I'm adding a little bit more paint to my brush so I can do this side also. And actually for her, we're gonna take this all a step further because she's got makeup on and I wanna show that. I think it looks so pretty. So we're gonna wrap the top in the brown and the bottom for sure, but then we're also gonna be adding some blue there as well. And this can be darker over here. Just dropping in that same color. Make sure it gets properly dark. And then we're gonna do the outside of the nose. We're skirting along the nostril here. Okay, and then inside, that's actually gonna be like the darkest. And I'm following my reference, so I know exactly where to go, and you can follow the reference and me. And look at her stupid looking nose. I didn't trace her nose very well. It's a very weird shape. And then she's got a little bit here. And under here. So lovely neutral colors, which I really appreciate because a lot of the times I use colors that are like straight, as I know I'm very proud of my laziness and I always advertise how lazy I am. But my colors, because they're pre-mixed, are very yellowy and they don't tend to be this lovely neutral that we're doing today. So I'm so grateful to Polina for making this book because it is extremely helpful. All right, so while I still have this kind of floating, I'm gonna take my cheek color and I'm gonna add it in this eye for the tear duct. Since we're doing one that's a little bit it's a little bit different. And the color did run into this shadow, but that's actually does not bother me in any way. And I'm also gonna put a little bit of the cheek color in here in the areas we just did, because if you're following along in the reference, you might want to have some of these little peekaboo areas and have a little red and pink there, so that way we can all be on the same page there as well. I'm just adding a little bit more cheek color to this side of her cheek because it had dried a whole bunch. And then again, soften it with just adding the plain water. Okay. And I have a little bit of residue in my brush. I'm just running it around to fill that in. Okay, so what's next? I think we're at the part where we also do the eyes. Let me start the page. Yes. The fourth layer is we are going to do a detailing color mix. Very awesome. And we're going to paint the eyebrows and then we're going to refine the facial features. All right, so this is something we're going to have to pay close attention to. So I'm going to switch brushes to my smallest brush, which is the 0. And come back and follow those directions. Okay, so grab my 0 brush, and this looked pretty crappy from where I put the red. So I'm just gonna redo the upper areas of brown that we had to just neaten them up a little bit. And watercolor gets such a bad rap. That's why honestly, that's why I started with my whimsical watercolor book series, is because it gets a really bad rap for being like completely unforgiving, but actually you can do a ton with it, and you can correct your mistakes, and you can layer it on top of each other. And there's actually a lot that you can do. So don't get discouraged if you make yours ugly like mine. It does all come together in the end. So you just gotta keep working on it. I just did a video on the ugly phase, and it's like she is in the ugly phase right now, for sure. But you can get out of it. I'm just adding a little water to like spread that around again. All right, I was just reading the directions for the next move. This is my same dark tone I mixed up before. Nothing crazy different here, just going over them because it's relaxing and fun. So then the next step is to create a detailing color mix, which she describes as the darkest what we had before plus more blue. So I'm going to add more of the Antwerp blue to this to make it really dark. Okay, and of course you can always use different colors than these you want for the eyes and the eyebrows and whatnot. So I'm going to use the zero brush to make the eyebrows. Oh, I just made one go like crazy astray. Now I may need them all to go astray. And they should be a little bit sticking out a little bit more than the edge of the paper. I'm just making these long flicky bits. It is the loveliest brown, that is for sure. This actually is supposed to go on a block, and it would work a lot better if it was on the block, but I took it off to transfer the face, so it's a little wonky. All right, so we can also use this same color to do the shadow in the nose, which really you could go all the way to black for this as well, which is what I normally do. And you can, let's see, for added structure, we can go under the nose again, under the bottom lip. It's the same thing, the same places we've been going the whole time. So we can underline the nose. It's just you go in a smaller area every time. This is exactly how I teach as well. But as a mixed media artist, a lot of times I will switch to a different art supply instead of just using the same watercolors the whole time. And that's where being a mixed media artist is super fun and satisfying, because you can really mix and match. All right, and let's just color her eyes while we're here. I'm gonna make her eyes like the straight up Antwerp by itself, and I'll just put that like solidly on the top. Oh yeah, we were gonna get her makeup going as well. I definitely want to do that still. So usually for the eye, I'll put a concentrated color around the top strip, and then I'll use water to blend it down, just like we did on our swatches, just like we did everywhere. That makes it really super pretty. Just add in a little bit more. So she also has quite a bit blue in other areas of this reference as well. So I think we should actually put them in. Why not? Let's get a little crazy up in here. So I'm going to use the straight up Antwerp blue. And this is for those who are following along my reference that I'm giving you. You don't have to. So I'm going to make this watery blue, but there is really is quite a lot of blue in here. So just dab that off on a paper towel. So there's some on this side. Sprinkling that down. There is totally some on this side. Above and below her eye. And also across this, top of this eye as well. Even in the eye, going like across. And of course she also has some around here. It looks so different than the one I've done before, which is fascinating. And there's also some kind of up here. So same blue that we've used to mix in everything. We can also mix in here also. We also can do a little bit of blue in her mouth. It's like a shadow. Okay. All right. So then from this point on, I'm going to show you how I would finish this myself, just as like a mixed media artist, where I stray a bit from sometimes with using different materials. That's what I love about being a mixed media artist, is like taking something purist, like a full watercolor, and adding in different art supplies to either fix anything or just accentuate anything. I was just adding a little bit more Antwerp blue in those areas. And I can even add a little bit more blue under here. And it's very shy over here, so I'm gonna even add some kind of droplets and a little bit of water to activate just some of these. Okay, now our lips. Let's do lots more with the lips. I'm gonna add that lip color again. So definitely, this is just the same mix I had before, but for sure would add a second coat on here. Still using my size 0 brush. I would run it along the inside bottom of this lip, as well as the bottom of the bottom lip. This can be really fun to make these kind of lip lines here. So the lips have all these juicy lines in them, and it's fun to recreate them inside of the large, especially if you have a large scale lip like this. Like, why not? Let's do it. And even add some more lip color in the cheek. Cheeky that up. And I really do love, sometimes you see like a blue nose, like a little red in the nose, and a little red in the eyes. So you don't have to follow me on this part. I'm just doing it because I love to match a reference, and we have one here. All right. So I'm gonna let that dry with my hair dryer, but right after I color in the nostril, I'm gonna use my Pocket Pentel brush pen for this, so that it's like good and black inside of the nostril. And also, I'm going to dry these, and I'll do her eyelashes with these as well. So I'm going to dry this with my hair dryer, and then I'm going to finish up with that for the lashes. All right. So again, still with my Pocket Pentel brush pen, I like to have a little bit of black, just a little bit. in when I'm doing faces on my own. So you can outline, especially this is a great way to make the eyes come aligned. You can also use this for it's great for eyebrows, also eyebrow hairs. But she can definitely have some more drama. So outlining the eye and also using this for the pupil, as well as all of the lower lashes as well. All right, so I've got my reference close to me. Her eyelashes are enormous. And this top is really thick. So don't be shy at all. Just remember these ones are gonna go this way. And all the way around. All right, we can even extend that over, and then this also can be outlined, and then her bottom lashes come off like this. And then when we put the little gleam in, she totally comes to life. Now, another thing we can do, because there really is quite a pronounced shadow in this eye, is the pencil Pekka brush pen will move with water if you get it while you just put it on. So you can actually drag some of that black, almost black, down into the eye to make it super shady, which it actually really is. Okay, and even the lid line and things are really quite dark in there. So using that to our example, but see how it's like super dark at the top and then it fades to really light? I always think that is so pretty. And then we'll get to do this other eye, which you can also add darker eyebrow hairs with this. Woo! And you can fill them in more than that. Or add brown back over these to moosh them all together. And again, we're going to outline. Just make sure this is dry before I put my hand on it. We're going to outline. And this time I'm going to put the dark line under it. Okay, but also this lid line is also super duper dark. So go ahead and darken it up. And then the directionality of the lines is also important, but first we can add like her pupil in black. And again, we can do it now, we can do it after, it doesn't really matter. But we're gonna take our wet brush and we're gonna really darken right across this. Gets a really big shadow line across the top. We're all in on the shadows, friends. And then lashes, of course. Huge sweeping ones. And then as they get towards the pupil, they're gonna go straight up and down. They actually switch directions. And then they go flying this way. And she's got a ton. You can do a ton more than that. And hers are even longer than I have drawn, so really kick those up. Yee, wow. And a million on the bottom, which is also outlined just a little bit. So it's really fun to play in this eyeball space for a long time. Again, I'm gonna just squidgy that black along the top and bring it over to the sides. Even add a little bit more over here. And I'm gonna bring, this is that Antwerp, same one we've been using the whole time, just add a little bit more vivacious blue on the sides. Why not punch it up a little bit? Oop, that's a little strong. So add a little water to dilute it. There we go. All right, so I just wanted to add a little bit more color. Her lips can still be stronger, in my opinion. So I'm gonna mix this red, deep, just straight up with the lip color that we had before. She really wants a dramatic lip, she told me, so you know. So always make the top lip darker than the bottom lip in those same areas where it is also along the bottom, inside, and corners and lower. Because once you have some good juicy red bits, then when you add the white highlights, it looks so stinking good. So putting those in. Unfortunately, I have a white. I left it white around her lips, which looks stupid, but too late now. All right, that looks much better with her red face. And then the last thing we get to do is add the highlights, but we can't add the highlights until we have everything dried already. So we will do that. Now, optional, we could add a little bit more of the mid-tone. We kind of lost the mid-tone a little bit. It goes very abruptly from the dark, from the light to the dark. So if you want to mess around with that, you totally can, but you don't have to. But she does make it really easy to do that since we have these already made up. So if you wanted to, you could, for example, also use this to like blend in these areas a little bit more. If you wanted to strengthen like the nose bridge, you already have that color made up. So it's a lot less scary. Like you don't have to go make it up because it already is. Could do something like that. I'm just showing you this because I don't want you to be scared to add things or subtract things. I think it's good if it has a little bit more of a nose bridge than what was there already. I think that, and that again, that kind of helps this area because that was like a little abrupt. So that helps that segue a little bit better. Doing the little brush of the mid-tone. You could do the same thing over here. Another thing you could do, which I like to do, is like you honestly add more colors just so that you can pop in highlight. And I've been working so long that my lights are turning off. So I'm almost like dry brushing this on. If this was too scary and abrupt, you can add a little bit more there. Normally, this side is also shaded, so it's interesting that it's not. But I just want to show you can go in here and mess around if you want to. Totally your choice, but I just don't want anybody to be scared of doing anything. Now, this is a little like dumb with its straight line. So you could try to add a little bit of water and move that or lift it, and depending on what color it is, you'll have variations of success. And then as far as highlights, so let's fix that by re-wetting it, and you can pull up. So re-wet. I have a whole video on 22 ways to fix like gross watercolors. that I will for sure link. But it's good to know that you can also go in with color pencils, and that is a great, now look at this ramrod straight line. Like that looks stupid. So a little water, squidging it up, no problem. Blend as we go and lift. And then yeah, color pencils are your like best friend. If you really want to get in here and you can make tiny little adjustments or whatnot just using a color pencil. It's a dream. I just want this to go this way a little bit. I was missing the angle. I know, terribly shaped nose, so bad. All right, so for highlights, I love to use this Copic white. So satisfying. Before I do that, make sure you have a shadow inside of her mouth. I know that sounds really weird, but you want to color those teeth blue. They really should be shady in there. And I'm going to put this big dollop on her nose. And in her eyes, yes, we definitely need some twinkles in there. So let's go all the way in and add some twinkles. Shoop. Because then when you then when you zoom out, they like really shoot out at you. And she can have some here. And sometimes too, you can weasel some in between their eyelashes, and look how sparkly that looks. It looks so sparkly. You can have some down here if you want to. Looks like all the difference in the world. And then on that top lip, you can have highlight here and here. And bottom lip, lots of little lines here. A big one this way. All right. Ooh. Oh, got one in the wrong spot. And then of course you can add as many or take away as you want to, but you get the overall effect. And last but not least, if you wanted to use color pencils to touch up any of those areas anywhere, that is the super appropriate. Or pan pastels, you could do that as well. Or you could come in here and just keep switching between the mid-tone and the light tone and the dark tone to do whatever improvements or changes that you want to do. But don't be scared. I hope that is the biggest takeaway to this, is don't be scared. Follow directions. Have a good sense of humor when you're working. I'm gonna add some more flesh up here since mine is like, that straight line is driving me crazy. So I'm gonna just add on to her forehead. And because we have the mix made up from the beginning, you can do that with a lot more confidence. And if you hadn't had that, let's see, we can add more over here. Kind of cut off weirdly abruptly, so we can put that back. And she needed to extendo the side of her face a little bit, I think. We can do that over here. Fill this in a little bit. Why not? And then we can even use more highlights to blend or adjust anything, make a twinkle here or there. wet this part. Ever want to add more pink? You can do wet on wet there. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your watercolors. Come in here, have fun. Keep working till you're happy with it. And next week, I'm gonna be back with part 2, which is painting medium skin tones. So I will see you then. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. And then check out this video because that's my 20 ways to correct watercolor mistakes. So if you made any mistakes today and you're still freaking out about and not sure how to fix them, check out that video and there's 20 ways that you can. See you next time.